These Australian Labradoodle puppies are a week old. Are they twice as big as they were when they were born? That's the big question today that we'll find out later in the video. We're also going to be giving you an update on Mandy. We're going to check in and go through the weights and the colors on each of these puppies. These are petite Australian Labradoodle puppies. And we're also going to talk a bit about a vet and a trainer and a groomer. Hi, I'm Claire from Isle Labradoodles, and the Petite Poinsettia puppies are doing quite nicely. Mama Mandy is doing a pretty darn good job. The last couple of days, Mandy's gone through what is a really typical behavior change when the puppies approach a week old. And what do I mean by that? Well, she's decided, well, I'm not really interested in doing this anymore. I'm not too sure why I'm here. And I think I'll go sit outside of the box, and I think I would really like to go outside. But I also feel like I need to be with my puppies. So there's lots of confusion that goes on at this point. This is a very common occurrence with girls. Their hormones are fluctuating, and at the 1 week mark, they're coming more back into sync with what they would normally be. So that big surge of strong maternal instinct that happens when the puppies are first born tends to fade off a bit, and this is what you get. So you see how she's gone and she's got them all excited. They think that the milk bar is going to be made available. She sniffs them, and then she removes herself. Right now she's done that by sitting on the other side of my legs where the puppies can't get to her. So normally what she would do is she would just take herself out of the box. And then she ignores them for a while, but then those maternal instincts come back in, and she comes in and checks them again. Gets them all agitated, they start to cry like they are now, and then she leaves again. So it's frustrating for the puppies, it's frustrating for the humans, but it is just a part of a natural cycle. So what do? Well, we support her as much as we can. So last night I actually fell asleep in here on 3 separate occasions because I came in, because when I'm in here she's more inclined to stay close to the puppies. However, she does what she's doing right now, where she comes over, she wants attention, and she wants to stay away from her puppies. So I'm not going to force her into doing anything because that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to wait and hope she does what she's doing right now for you, where she chooses to go back, give them some kisses, check on them. Occasionally she steps on them right now, so you might hear a bit of squawking while she steps on them. She just stepped on Yellow's head there. This is also quite a normal thing. So you see the puppies, they get themselves all worked up. They're all excited. They want to go find the food. But of course, at a week old, they're still not super coordinated. It takes them a while to orientate themselves to where the milk bar might be, get themselves turned around, and then crawl over to where Mandy actually is. And what happens is quite often by the time they get there, she's left. So that creates a lot of frustration for them. So is this bad for the puppies? Oh, heck no, this is totally normal. What really is happening here is these puppies are going to develop superior problem-solving skills. It's also going to give them a little bit more tenacity, and it's also a super good lesson in learning that things don't always work out the way you anticipate they will. So that's something we want our puppies to learn, because that helps create a puppy that's more balanced. It's something we like our children to learn. So then you hear there's still quite a bit of squawking going on, and that's because everybody doesn't have a spot. I'm going to just shift over a bit so I can get her to spread out a bit more. Blue hasn't got a spot here, and he's probably super hungry because she likely hasn't cooperated lately. There we go. We'll see if she'll spread out a bit. Right now she's busy attending to them. She's still not perfect with the cleaning up of the bums, especially on the white puppies. We can sometimes see that there's some poop stuck on their bums, but she's doing it well enough that it's not a concern. I'm not having to come in and do that myself anymore. And the other thing she's done or doing is starting to dig things up a bit. So yesterday there was a hullabaloo and there was puppies screaming their heads off. So of course we came in to see what was happening. She had the carpet all rolled up in a little ball over in the corner. The puppies were all spread out on the chloroplast. Their legs were going every which way. They couldn't get anywhere. They were all separated, and it was a very traumatic time for them. So we now have bricks in the corners. That's to hold the carpet in place. And I have thrown a towel in with her here and there so she can dig the towel up as opposed to the carpet. That way she may cover the puppies up sometimes. She may roll a puppy up in the towel, in which case we'll hear from the puppy because they don't enjoy that. But they won't be scrambling around on the chloroplast. I don't want them doing that just because it's hard on their joints. Their legs are going like this. I don't want that happening. It's also a little bit cooler. Not much because it is still pretty warm in here. So in response to Mandy behaving this way, I also have turned the temperature down 1 degree. Sometimes the girls get uncomfortable when it's as warm as it is. The puppies have been fine with that. They haven't been clumping up to stay warm. They're still plenty warm. And you'll see that she's panting, but she's not like, oh my goodness, I'm dying. Yeah, we don't want you to die, do we? No, you're paying very close attention to everything I say. She's a wonderful girl and she's not doing anything wrong at all. This is really quite normal behavior for a first-time mama. So we just work through it with her. By next week, she'll be over it all and she'll have figured out that, oh, I actually am stuck in here with these kids and I really should look after them. It's just hormones, is all it is. And the other thing that's been a little bit challenging in the last maybe 3 days is getting her to eat. So unless one of us is in here feeding her, at least starting her off by feeding her, she just chooses not to eat. She's starving. She wants to eat more than anything, but she'll just walk away. Don't ask me what that's all about. Many of the girls do that. It's frustrating. It's time consuming. However, it is something that some of them do. So we just come in and we feed it to her and make sure that she is getting enough nutrition. Now, Mandy doesn't eat a lot in comparison to some of our other moms, but that's just because she is so tiny. She is eating a lot for her. She is at each meal eating about 1.5 to 2 times what she normally would eat. So she's still getting plenty of nutrition. It's just she's a little bit quirky about it. Now, the other thing we've done is asked Mandy's guardian dad for him to come and visit her. He was worried that maybe she would be upset by the visit and be concerned when he left afterward. But normally it helps our girls settle down. They're like, oh, there's my family. I can show them my family. I haven't lost them. I'm still part of their lives. They're still part of my life, and isn't this great? Now, it may also mean that when her guardian dad, Thomas, leaves, she may be a bit agitated for a few minutes afterwards. She may be like, oh, why didn't you take me? Oh, I don't need to stay here. I want to go home. I'm ready to go home. But that only lasts a few minutes before the mom figures out again that, oh yeah, right, I have these babies. That's okay. I want to stay here with my babies. And they get over it. Dogs have a very short memory. They have really good memories, but it's short. And they do live in the moment. So she's not going to be pining away for him or anything. She'll be, well, I'm sure she will be initially sad when he leaves, but it will be very short-lived. And we hope that that might encourage her to feel just a little bit more settled and a little bit more devoted. Right, Mandy? That is such a good girl. But you know, she's so darn cute and she's so sweet that holy cow, you can't ever get upset with her. When we let her come out and be in the living room with us, it's just hilarious. She can jump like a kangaroo. That really should have been your name. She'll leap from miles away from Reynolds' chair and she lands up on his neck. Just about knocks the whole chair and Reynolds over in all of her enthusiasm. Mandy gravitates to Reynolds a lot because her guardian is a man. She also has a guardian mom, but she and her guardian dad are exceptionally close. And so she does identify very strongly with male humans. And so she goes right to Reynolds, trying to find Thomas, her guardian dad, and that she's all over him. She climbs all over his head and his neck, knocks his glasses flying, licks him to death, and he's really getting some extra good moisturizing on his face with Mandy staying here. It's really kind of funny to watch. You'd be surprised how much licking one small dog like this can do. So now the puppies, other than having to contend with a mother who's being a bit of a nuisance from their perspective, look at Red Collar Girl here. She's just doing everything to try and find the other side of the milk bar because this side is now empty. And she, Red Collar, does not feel like she's full, so she's looking for the other side. The puppies probably are eating just about as much as they need to, but I do feel that probably there's just a little bit of a shortage of either access to the milk bar or the milk bar itself, because they do tend to fuss around like this looking for more when normally we would find that they would be satisfied with what they were getting just from the one side. Again, what does this do? This teaches the puppies to be resourceful. It teaches them to problem solve. It teaches them how to figure out to get to the other side. If we could get Mandy to eat more, it would be ideal. However, as I was mentioning, we are just struggling to get her to eat sort of the bare minimum for a lactating girl. She's not skinny, so the puppies are not taking from her, but she's just not got a really plentiful milk bar because she just chooses not to eat that much. It's not going to kill them. They're all doing fine. Their weight gains are fine. They're not over the top through the roof. They're not great big round puppies like we sometimes see, but they're all within the range that we like to see. And so when we go through their weights later on, we'll find that there is only one puppy who has doubled their birth weight, and that is because the milk bar just does not have a huge supply. But they're all really close to doubling their birth weight and all certainly well within the range that's acceptable for the first week. And definitely before next week, they will have all doubled their birth weight. As long as we see that by day 10, I have no concerns. If we see a puppy who's not gaining weight, who's really struggling and say has only gained 30-40% of their birth weight in the first week, that's when we start to supplement them. But we try at all times to avoid that. It upsets their stomach. It's not a really pleasant process if you're a puppy to have a tube put down your throat to get extra nourishment. So we try not to have to do that, and we try to get it so mom can provide everything, as long as we're keeping mom safe and healthy and the puppy safe and healthy. So the other thing I've done is started to add some more tripe to her diet. Fortunately, Mandy is a huge lover of tripe. Tripe is really rich, has a lot of nutrients in it, and it tends to up the milk supply. Now I have another little thing that I use sometimes, which is also natural, and it's an herb and it's called fenugreek. Women use it too if their milk supply is not that great. I hesitate to use it regularly because sometimes it increases the milk production to the point where we end up getting mastitis. And of course, that's not something we want. So it's a little bit of a tricky balance. But I think I will probably give her a smidge, be very cautious with it, but just see if we can just up the milk supply maybe about 10%. It's not like it's in a serious shortage or anything, but if we just gave it a little bit of a boost, I just think that the puppies would feel a little more comfortable. And I also have another ulterior motive with doing that. If I can get Mandy's milk bar to be more full, it will be more of an encouragement to her to go and lie down and stay lying down and feeding them, because it will be that relief as the milk is drained. Right now, because her mammary glands are not really full, it's not where she feels uncomfortable, where she wants to go and get the milk drawn out of her. It's just like, oh yeah, I have some milk. And so there's not that extra little incentive to go and feed your babies. And if you've been watching through this video as I've been talking here, just because she's lying here feeding them, she's more inclined to be licking them, cleaning them, and of course, in dog world, this is how they forge a bond with one another. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to do, if you're one of the families on this list, is you're going to want to start working on forging relationships with the 3 important partners in your dog's life: your vet, your trainer, and your groomer. The vet is someone that you may not have a lot of control over in who you are able to have take you on. Vets are in extremely short supply, so you may just have to settle for whomever is taking new clients on if you don't have a vet already. Now, if you've already had a dog and you've lost your dog, or you still have your dog, your vet clinic will take you on. If you've lost your dog, make sure you phone and say, "Hi, it's Sally. Remember, I had Rover who passed away 3 years ago. I'm getting a puppy. The puppy's coming home in February, and I'd like to have my puppy come and be a patient." Make sure you do that right away. Some clinics have a time period before they take your name off the list, and then they may say that they're full and not taking new patients. Then if you're not able to have a vet that you really prefer, with the one that you would prefer to go get your name on the wait list. People do cycle through vets, people move, dogs pass away, all sorts of things happen. So you may find that you are able to get in with your preferred vet by putting your name on that wait list. And then once you do get in, just make sure your vet understands what an Australian Labradoodle is, and that they're not a doodle. They're not a golden doodle. They're not a Labradoodle. They are Australian Labradoodles. Why do you care if your vet knows this? Well, it's because the medical care is different. So for instance, there's all sorts of special considerations with special breeds. Some breeds have problems with certain medication. Some breeds have problems with certain types of anesthesia. So it's really important for your vet to understand what your dog is, so they know if there are any medical concerns they need to be aware of. So an Australian Labradoodle, if you don't know, is also not an Aussie Doodle. An Aussie Doodle is something entirely different. Your puppy is originally 14 generations ago, a Labrador Retriever, a Poodle with a splash of Spaniel. Your puppy has been ALD to ALD for 14 generations now. This is the 15th generation. There has been no infusion of any breed. It's just been ALD to ALD. So just make sure your vet is aware of that. You may need to give them some more information. They may not be aware that these are not Aussie Doodles. It's so common for people to say, "Oh, I have an Aussie Doodle," because Australia is Aussie and Labradoodle is Doodle, but you have an ALD. That is what you have. So make it your job as an ambassador of the breed to inform everyone that these are ALDs and what that means, because it really does make a difference. It's hugely important that your vet records indicate the right breed, and IDEXX does recognize ALDs as a breed, so it will be in your vet's computer system, because your insurance cost is impacted by the breed of your dog. ALDs enjoy very good health, and as a result, a much lower premium. So it's really key that your vet has that correct for a variety of reasons. Same thing for a trainer. You want to be sure, now for a trainer, you can pick and choose. There are scads of trainers out there. Anybody can say they're a trainer. There's no regulation over this. So make sure you do some checking. Post on our community page and say, hey, I live in, who would you recommend as a trainer? Or I'm thinking about going to ABC training. Anybody have anything to say about them? You want to try, if you're on Vancouver Island, to get into Communicanine classes. They're awesome. They are in Brentwood Bay. They run a fantastic program for puppy kindergarten. Your purchase contract does require that you do go to a group class within the first 2 weeks of taking your puppy home. So make sure you're starting to get organized for that and have your puppy signed up. They can go as soon as you've been home for 3 days with your puppy. So you could start on February the 4th with your puppy. But you do have to go by Valentine's Day. Taylor also will likely be running a class, and Taylor's classes are also great. I would recommend you do Communicanine as well, or another one, including Taylor's, because Taylor's will just be other ALDs. And it's really important that your puppy is exposed to a variety of different breeds of dogs. So once you find someone, go watch a class. You don't have to stay for the whole thing, but make sure when you get there that the facility is clean, tidy, that everything's run professionally, that you feel comfortable when you're there. Because let's be honest, the person who's really learning at these sessions is you. So you have to be comfortable and you have to enjoy the instructor's style. So make sure you go, spend some time. Even something as simple as that there's well-lit parking. It's winter, it's going to be dark probably when you go. If you're going as a female on your own, if I'm going, it's important to me that the parking lot is safe, well-lit, and that I don't feel uncomfortable walking back and forth with my puppy. For many of us, depending on where we live, there's always a risk of all sorts of things happening. So these are things to take into consideration. Finally, your groomer. Again, you want to make sure your groomer knows what an ALD is and what the correct ALD clip is. You will be getting pictures and directions in your going home package, but groomers tend to get their backs up if you say, here, this is how you need to do it. They're the professionals. They should know how to do it. I give you the picture just in case your dog comes home and looks like a poodle, looks like a schnauzer, or is naked. So that you can then go and say, hey, my breeder showed this to me. Would we be able to do something like this with my dog? Because you just want to be careful you're not ruffling feathers or stepping on professional feet, if you will. So ask them for their book. All groomers have a book, and ask them to show you ALD clips. This is not a golden doodle again. This is not a Cavapoo. This is not an Aussie doodle. This is an ALD. There is a correct way to clip them, and your groomer should know what that is. You also want to make sure it's clean and tidy, professionally run, yet that you don't have to wait years to get an appointment. For your puppy, you're going to want to book them to be going into the groomer to have their face and their bums tidied up within about 10 to 14 days after coming home. They're not going for a full groom because they won't be fully vaccinated yet. So you will be just taking them in. They'll just be standing on their own puppy blanket and having a very quick cleanup of their face and their bums. So why do we do their bums? Well, one of the reasons we love ALDs is they have those great big fluffy teddy bear coats, which means there's lots of fur underneath the tail, which means a poop gets stuck to it. Yuck, nobody likes to clean poopy puppy bums. No, no thank you. So you want to have that cleaned. It's called a Santa clip, and it's just really shaving the area out under the tail. You won't notice it, but except for the fact that you won't have poop stuck on your puppy's bum. Worst thing is if you go to pick your puppy up and go, at least for me, I don't care for that. Their faces get cleaned because the hair, again, we have the beautiful teddy bear face. If Mandy will show us her face. Mandy, thank you. You'll see how she has lots of coat all around her eyes and her mouth. Now she has a beautifully trimmed face. She is clipped absolutely perfectly, done by my incredible master groomer, Julia. And you'll see how her eyes are clear. We can see her eyes, but we still have all that beautiful fluffy facial hair all around it. But her eyes are clear. We don't have hair growing over her eyes like this so that she can't see. It's kind of funny, Posey is looking in through the window right now, and Posey is going to get her hair done on Wednesday. Right now her hair is like this. You don't even know she has eyes. This is very scary for a puppy when they have hair growing over their eyes. They can't see properly, and this is not something we want to have happen with our puppies. So that's why we want to make sure their faces are all tidied up. Now Mandy has her eyelashes trimmed, and that's something that you can choose as a personal preference. Ripple, I do not trim her eyelashes generally, but right now her eyelashes are down to her nose and they're getting stuck in her beard. So when she goes to get her hair done tomorrow, I'm going to ask them to trim her eyelashes up slightly. Mandy's got buzzed right off when she got her maternity groom, and I'm not sure if that's was Thomas's preference or just what happened at the groom. You have to stop stepping on their tails. It hurts when you step on their tails. Oh my goodness, Mandy, poor babies. So now let's go talk about the puppies, and let's talk about their weight gain. And let's just get onto my app here. And the first puppy we've got is Blue Collar Boy. Blue Collar Boy is this handsome party guy. You can see he's got a little bit darker around his eyes. You can see his markings more. And we're just going to check out his pads. And we'll see that there's a little bit of color coming in on the one pad here, if Mandy will let me show it. See, she doesn't care about them, but then when I do something, she does. There's just this one little bit of color coming here. There's a little bit of dots coming on his nose. And on his nose, it looks like it's black. And if it's black, then that means that he's going to be an apricot party. Oh my goodness. Red, it's okay. Red is quite vocal. Mr. Blue is now 386 grams, and he is at 110% of his birth weight. So he has doubled his birth weight. Next we have Mr. Black Collar Boy. Hey, sweetie, shush, 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 shush. Black Collar, oh, I'm sorry. That was Black Collar that I was showing you. I'm sorry, I had the wrong puppy there. Let's do that again. This is Blue Collar. My mistake entirely. Sorry. And Mr. Blue Collar, you can see, has tons of color on his feet. And they are very clearly black. And you can see there's all sorts of black coming in around his nose and his face there. This is definitely going to be an apricot or a red puppy because of that black. And sorry, that's what his weight is, and he's doubled his birth weight. Oh my goodness, what a silly human. Mandy, is that what you were trying to tell me? I had the wrong puppy? Then we have Black Collar, who was the one I was showing you before, who is, I believe, an apricot party. Mr. Black weighs 446 grams, and he is at 92% of his birth weight. So by tomorrow, he will be up to doubling his birth weight. So pretty much close enough, we can call it that. He's done his job that he needs to do. I'm sorry, I had the wrong puppy there. Oh my goodness, what a silly human. Then we have Little Green. Green is our little guy, And again, let's check out his pads. And look, they're all pink. But if we look at his nose, we can see it's quite different from Mr. Blue's. It's clearly brown colored, liver colored, if you will. So this is a caramel party boy. Lots of pretty markings. Can you see any difference in them? No. The only difference is going to be the nose and the pad colors. And that's just a technical thing from the breed standard. So my handsome little green collar boy, he is at 327 grams. He's still just a little tiny little guy. He can fit in one hand still. I can hold him quite easily. He is at 89% of his birth weight. So again, he will, if not by tomorrow, probably the day after, he'll have doubled his birth weight. So he's easily going to accomplish that within the 10 days that we like to see it happening. And Mandy's going to make sure that his ears are quite nicely cleaned out. Thank you, Mandy. Then we have yellow collar. Yellow collar, calling yellow collar. Here's yellow collar. Thank you. Yellow collar. And again, let's take a look at these feet. Now these ones are a little bit trickier. Are they brown or are they black? And then we look at his nose. Well, it's his nose that gives it away, because his nose is quite clearly a liver color, not a black color. So this is another caramel puppy. The caramel puppies come from the Rocky side of things, and the reds and the apricots come from the Mandy side of things. Mandy's got a black nose and Rocky has a caramel nose. Mr. Yellow weighs 406 grams and he is at 91% of his birth weight. So he too is going to be like the others, and he'll get up there in good time and be just fine. He's handsome. Now after yellow, we go to orange. Here you go. There you go. And orange is right here. I'll double check and make sure I've got the right puppy now, after having the wrong one, silly mummy. And orange, we look at his pads. They are all still pink. And then we go and look at his nose, and we see there again he has some of the caramel coloring. It's very interesting we have this many caramel noses. Liver noses is really what they're called, because black's dominant. So really with a dog with a black nose bred to a dog with a liver nose, we tend to get more blacks usually. However, statistically it is a 50-50 thing. So this little guy is also going to be a caramel party. Just the cutest little fellow with his pretty markings on his face there. He is 455 grams and he's only at 77% of his birth weight. He's going to be a slowpoke. But if you look at his tummy and his body condition, you can tell he is not in any way behind. He is plump. He feels very solid in my hand, and it's more my hand feel that I'm basing everything on, where I'm totally not concerned. I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to double within 10 days. He will within 2 weeks, but he feels fine. So I'm not in any way worried or feeling like I need to be getting on and supplementing him. There we go. He just clearly doesn't gain weight as fast as others. I wish that was my problem. And then last but not least, we have our talkative puppy, red collar girl. And she is, I believe, not going to be red, because if we take a look, her pads are a little tricky. Her pads actually look black, but her nose does not really look black right now. So I'm going to reserve judgment and wait, because right here to me looks like it is coming in black, and those feet to me look a little bit more like they're black than brown, but the nose looks brown. But they can start off looking like that and then turn into the red. So I really do think she's a red puppy. If not, she is one heck of a dark red caramel. She has beautiful colors, so much like Mandy. She's just going to be an absolute clone to her, our little flame puppy. And Miss Red is 431 grams, and she is at 93% of her birth weight. So she'll easily have doubled her birth weight by tomorrow. So that's all the kidlets. And as I said, everybody is managing quite nicely. I'm really proud of how well they've dealt with the stress of mom being a little less in love with being a mom over the past few days. But it's nothing to worry about. Mandy will be right back to being fully attentive probably within the next, I'd say by Thursday she'll be totally back to her normal self. If not, well, then there'll be trouble, right, Missy? Yes. We hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have time and could leave us a comment, that would be great. You're stepping on your puppy, Goofus. Hopefully we maybe get a little bit smarter about that over the next few days. And if you don't have time for a comment, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week. What a nut you are.